What's up guys, happy droids. So on the bench today we have an Alice Box Tusi edition. Now before I even start this video I want to point out this is the first model that was ever produced, so this is a prototype, so I will expect some minor inconsistencies with the fit and finish and the overall internal build quality, etc, etc. Typically with prototype devices, it's a creator building a new device, and it's one of the first editions, one of the first of a few, or whatever it might be. It's basically the creator trying to figure out how best to put everything together. So there will be some minor sort of defects, minor things that don't really affect the working of the device, but will obviously affect the fit and finish. As you can see, the screen is a little bit more recessed on this side and is perfectly flat on that side. So that's what I'm talking about. Some minor sort of imperfections that will probably likely happen on prototype devices. The reason prototype devices are more sort of sought after is because it was one of the first created in that line. So they're very sought after in the community. The people that have maybe had one or seen one used, they're very sought after. So it makes them kind of desirable. Also due to the minor imperfection is a very unique thing. Some people like that. Typically, I would probably suggest wait until the production models are out, and that way all the updates have been done, everything's been ironed out, everything's hunky-dory, as they say. So on the back we have the battery door. This runs on 4 AA batteries. The customer did say that even with alkaline batteries, rechargeable batteries, is lasting about an hour, 2 hours at the max. He wanted me to address to see if I could make that last longer, and probably adding a lithium polymer battery would make that better. I still need to open this and find out what's inside. It could be due to the voltage regulator, something like that. Is basically just chewing through the batteries, something like that. I do know, based on the old models, I'm not sure if this is using the exact same thing, but typically the older ones were based on the ESP32. The exact same thing's what's used in the Powertech. These are fabulous little things. They have tons of memory, so it allows me to put thousands and thousands of words in the Powertech. Obviously this has MP3 files or WAV files, something like that. So most likely that's put on the SD card. If you notice the difference between the Powertech and this has a more natural voice, is a natural human voice, rather than the Powertech, which has like a robotic voice, which can make it a little bit difficult to understand. But it like the same, they all populate words on the screen. It's basically a word generator. If you want to minimize the terminologies, etc, etc. They're all word generators. They all work slightly different. Some of them the same, some of them are different. Typically with the Powertech is a random word generator, and it does that by random seeding through various pins. So it collects EMF static data, and it basically creates like a random seed. So it does have some kind of external EMF static influence on how it chooses a word, but it's essentially designed to be as random as possible. Now this is it basically explains on the website this is a psychokinetic device, which basically means that spirits, entities would manipulate the device to basically bring out a word. Everyone has their own theories. My theory is basically to make it random possible, so if a word does pop out that's relevant, it would be statistically unlikely. That's basically my theory and concept on the word generator. Everybody has their own kind of theory. This is basically theorizing that the psychokinetic abilities of spirits be able to manipulate tangible items to basically give you a result. That's basically the whole concept. Now, using the device over the past day, I've noticed that this pointer action, what this does is basically when it says a word, it does a little animation, and then it kind of just points to the area where it thinks the message or influences came from. So it kind of gives you an indication of where that spirit or entity or whatever it is directed. So the idea is that if it flashes here one side, it gives you a word, and then it flashes over here, it gives you another word. Or if it flashes 2 different times, for example, it might indicate like a group of spirits, a group of entities that are manipulating the device, trying to talk to you through various positions. A little bit confusing. In my experience with the device, it seems to be a little bit random. Sometimes it points this way, sometimes it points that way. It kind of likes to favour up here. I had this next to a fan, I had it next to a wall socket. It doesn't seem to affect the reading. So my original thought, which I spoke to the customer, my original thought, if it's using some kind of antenna triangulation to kind of pinpoint where energy sources come from, we'll have to basically look at that. I don't think that's how it's working. Typically, random triangulation of energy sources is quite difficult. Like this device, this is a robotic planchette. It's a completely different device, but this also has EMF static cause. It basically has 4 micropod systems in here, which can determine which direction energy has come from, and the robot can basically move in that direction. It barely just works in this size of device. As you see, that's much bigger. So because it does kind of work, but it's still a little bit small. Basically, for maximum effect, the sensors would have to be quite far apart. But this does it. It basically detects energy from various directions, and it can basically move the car in a direction. That's basically what I thought this would be. Basically, it has an antenna up here. It could differentiate between 2 antennas and give you a kind of pinpoint reading of where that energy has come from. I don't think that's how it's working. I think it's still using the psychokinetic based theory on the, you know, where the indicator is pointing and also which words are coming out. So yeah, the idea with this device, the customer sent in to me because he's not really happy about the position of the screen, is a little bit recessed in there, so it basically makes it a little bit hard to see the first word which comes out. He also wasn't too impressed with the screen being a little bit off-centered here, and also obviously the front panel. Now this is a 3D printed front panel. The outer box is, I believe, like a prototype case with a built-in battery door. A lot of Andy's devices are using this typical type of case. You know, has access to battery door, and that saves a lot of production time, you know, 3D printing your own cases, etc., which does take an awful lot of time. You could basically buy these cases and put all your things in, adapt it to whatever device you're making. It definitely makes a lot more sense that way. Anyway, 3D printed stuff, typically this happens because when you 3D print onto something and then change the filament, what happens is it doesn't properly adhere to the case, especially if it's a very thin piece like so. We can see this little piece is moving a little bit. And basically what can happen as well is if this is used in a cold environment, the PLA does tend to get very brittle and it will easily flake off. And that's just as a cosmetic thing, but we will also address that as well. So I think probably the best way to tackle this is probably find out a way to fit a lithium battery in here, which will address the time of, you know, how the device will last. And obviously the customer wants also me to address the volume, so he wants me to basically see if I can fit a kind of volume control. Sometimes he wants the audio, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he finds the audio is a little bit quiet, so to make it louder and quiet to his needs would be perfect. Also, the device is basically an on-off device, so adding some functions to it just to make it the experience a little bit better for the customer is basically just all what we're going for here. As I said, this is a prototype, so when we do open this, I generally am expecting it not to be what the current devices are that you buy on the internet now. There will be variations, so please don't see this video and see that, oh, it might be like a bit of a mess inside. That's stuff that I would expect from a prototype. So like I said, don't be shocked, don't be surprised. It is, as we can see, it is a #1 edition, and yeah, it's the first unit built. I'm expecting various things to be not 100% brilliant, if that makes sense. So yeah, not to be too overcritical is basically the way I'm going to address this device in the future. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there because this is already 10 minutes long and I'm waffling on. I'm finding it very difficult to talk at the minute. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you want to see more of this device, go and check out Andy's website. It's basically there, infrared.co.uk. You guys, if you have any questions, speak to Andy. He's probably more than happy to answer any questions. And go check the website if you're interested in this device. It is a little bit pricey, I must say. It's like £300 odd Currently, I think it was a little bit more than that. But the current price now is £325. I'm not sure if it was on sale or anything, or if that's just the price it was. But yeah, it's a lot of money to spend on a paranormal device, in my opinion. But if you guys like it, who am I to say? Do whatever you want with your money. Set on fire for all I care. If you can afford it, go for it. It seems a very nice little device. It's very bright screen. It's definitely an upgrade from the little screens that were on there before. So yeah, a lot of improvements from the old model, and that's it. I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one, and stay tuned for more. Okay, bye then now.